I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello there.
Hello and welcome to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast for JoyClicks. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Connors, as always, joined by the illustrious Christian Buckley. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
Good. Today is a special day in the history of Jedi Knights, Christian.
We made it to meme status.
We officially have made it to meme status. I don't know what comes after this. We have to are there certain tiers of podcast, right? Like
the 501st episode.
Yeah, we have to make it to 501. That would just be that would just be something in and of itself. But yes, execute episode 66. It is the 66th episode of Jedi Knights. I'm excited. This is like a huge milestone, and we've been talking about it forever, Christian, and it's finally here.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
Super excited.
Me too. We got some exciting things planned. I don't know if you want to tease some of those before we get into the show, but it's going to be a good one.
For sure. I mean, yeah, I'll tease it. There are many different interpretations of Order 66 throughout Star Wars, right, Christian? So we're going to be taking a retrospective look at that. And putting our own flair on it and giving our own opinions on those interpretations of this massive event in Star Wars lore. But before that, I think we should do what we always do, where we start the episode off with the segment from the Jedi Archives, where each of us picks a article from Wikipedia and we educate each other on it, whether that be from legends, canon, whatever have you, anything from the Star Wars universe that we want to talk about, and then we'll get in some rumors and news. So why don't we start off with Jedi Archives, Christian? If you want to go first, what'd you bring to the table today?
So I have a recent addition to canon that I'm a fan of.
Right.
Buri Yaga Agabury.
I love him. That's I think like the last episode, nobody knew what I was talking about, but I said there's another Wookiee that we need to start talking about, and it was Buri Yaga.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Buri. Okay. So from the Jedi Archives, according to Wikipedia, Buri Yaga was a male Wookiee Padawan of the Jedi Order who was active during the High Republic era, the apprentice of Jedi Master Nib Assek. His master learned Shriwook so she could communicate with him. Buri Yaga and his master participated in the rescue effort to save the Hetzel system during the Great Disaster, which is at the core of the High Republic Light of the Jedi. And he was also the one who discovered through the Force that the hyperspace debris was a container full of living creatures.
Dude, I think Buri Yaga has one chapter from his point of view in Light of the Jedi, and it's my favorite chapter. I think it's really great. We always think about Wookiees, right? And we always wonder how does everybody know how to speak Shriwook, right? And it's kind of interesting seeing that from his perspective in that book. I don't know if you felt similarly.
Oh, for sure. I really liked Buri because typically when we see Wookiees, it's Chewbacca or the Wookiees that were enslaved during the reign of the Empire. But just the concept, this struck me immediately from the cover reveal last year. The concept of a Wookiee Jedi with a crossguard on the lightsaber, no less, it immediately grabs your attention. And I'm very glad that through Light of the Jedi, and specifically that chapter you're talking about, Buri Yaga was a shining star amongst the cast.
Yeah, I think that chapter does a lot to, talk about how Buri Yaga's Light of the Jedi, and we'll talk about this later, in a future episode more in depth. But in Light of the Jedi, each of the Jedi seem to have their own special connection with the Force, and it seems like Buri Yaga, he's really in tune with the emotional side of it, which I think is interesting coming from a Wookiee.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's funny that you picked something from the High Republic Light of the Jedi, Christian, because I picked the Jedi Vector.
Hell yeah! Okay, talk about it.
So yeah, we talked. This is a new ship, I believe, in the Star Wars canon, introduced in Light of the Jedi. The Jedi Vectors, they're a model of starfighter utilized by the Jedi during the High Republic. So they can accommodate either one or two passengers, allowing for Jedi Masters to be with their Padawans when they go on missions. And interestingly enough, the book does a lot to talk about how there's not that many controls in the Vector. A lot of it has to do with just like the way its pilot connects to the Force,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows them to do like really like intricate stuff that like normal machinery wouldn't allow a pilot to do, which I think is really interesting. Not only that, the weapon systems on the Vector, they can only be activated with a lightsaber. So yeah, the Jedi piloting it have to like Force put their lightsaber into like a key that like recognizes the kyber crystals and shoots out lasers. And I believe the lasers are actually the color of your crystal, which are interesting.
That is super cool. I love that. The Vector, like I want one. That ship, because they hit out the gate with that. That is the symbol of the Jedi in that book because they roll up in those.
Yeah.
Love everything about that ship. It's so cool.
It is really cool. I think what is the other one, like the longbow or something like that? The other thing is cool too. But so I picked the Jedi Vector, probably one of my favorite starfighters. You've seen the pictures of it, right?
Oh yeah. It's a cool looking ship. I like it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So good Jedi Archives picks from the both of us. So why don't we get into a little bit of the meat and potatoes of this episode before we get into our Order 66 special. First, we're going to talk about some rumors in the Force. And, one of the things that I saw while I was looking through the internet to do some research on this episode was something interesting about The Mandalorian. And this came from Film and Television Industry Alliance. That's a group which I guess gives industry professionals information about like job opportunities. Their website is claiming that The Mandalorian season 3 is not going to start filming until April 5th, 2021 in Los Angeles. Now, this is a rumor because they're really the only organization that has, put this out there. It hasn't been like officially confirmed in any way. And Star Wars Newsnet, actually, I read their report on it. They point out that the group has made a claim in the past stating that Kenobi was going to be filming in Boston, Massachusetts, which is untrue. We covered this on previous episodes of Jedi Knights. But yeah, so that's something to chew on, I guess, Christian. This may be happening in April, filming at least.
So I want to remind listeners with the Boston report, they were like almost right because like it wasn't Boston, Mass. It was Boston in Europe, wherever it is. So them having some sources, like they could have heard something that potentially is true. So like I'm sure they saw that report. It's like, oh, Boston, I know Boston, Mass,
Right.
So I'm glad you pointed that out though, just to take this with a grain of salt. But I feel like April 5th is I feel like a realistic shoot date to begin. Because you think about it, The Mandalorian, it's all localized on that one set with some like a few exceptions. Like Tython in season 2 was the only place that was not on one of those 360 sets, So on that front, I'm not really worried about anything, or feel like this is evident that the show is going to be pushed back or whatever. Like I think they can still hit Christmas. That was the marker that Kathleen Kennedy gave us last year. But I feel like Christmas is still realistic because you think Christmas, that's going to be like 1 or 2 episodes in the year 2021. So I think they can get 1 or 2 episodes fully done by then.
For sure. I mean, yeah, I think this is cutting it close, to be honest with you. If this is true, if they're actually starting filming this show in April, I feel like that's a really quick turnaround time. Now, I'm not really super knowledgeable about like what the production process is like for something like this, and I would imagine that going into season 3 of The Mandalorian, the production crews probably have like kind of hit a groove in a way. It's not like completely new to them, but right. Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. Since they said Christmas, I think it's probably safe to assume that maybe we'll get like 1 episode at the tail end of December, and then the rest of this will be in 2021. Yeah,
because I'll also add too, like I feel like most, because I have like studied this kind of stuff. Most productions, in terms of like typical Hollywood blockbuster type thing, which is what they're going for when they produce The Mandalorian, they just like are doing it on a TV scale. They usually they shoot for like 2 to 3 months, and the rest is post. And because a lot of what used to be done in post for green screens is done live through Unreal Engine and this new set design, like you mentioned them finding a groove. I wouldn't be surprised if they're finding ways to streamline so much of the production of this show to the point where like most of it is really just showing up like there, getting it all done, and then the edit is mostly the post-production for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've gone on record like with the like Disney behind the scenes things that they put on Disney Plus for the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think the creators and like the people who work on the show have come on record saying that 360 set does make things easier for them. There's no other way there's no other reason why they'd have it, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
so yeah, you're probably right. I think if this is to be believed, again, take it with a grain of salt, but like, I think it's reasonable that this will be that this is true. I think April seems like a reasonable date for them to start filming.
For sure. I think the only reason you'd have to worry is like in case there's a issue with the state of the world that interferes with the show, you know, like if somebody brings in the virus or anything like that. But I think this is all good sailing right now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to like, January 2020, you know, we were probably talking about like, you know, April 2020 and things just completely went out the window. So who knows, man.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on from that, another rumor of the Force that we have, this one had a lot of exposure on social media. People were talking about this.
Yeah, I didn't look into it a ton. Can you explain it to me in detail?
So, yeah. I'm pretty sure that earlier in the week there had been previous rumors that a Knights of the Old Republic game was in the works at EA. And that it would sort of take the elements of the first Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, and sort of like retool the stories to make them fit into the current canon. That was a previous rumor, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this week, as reported by the Star Wars insider Bespin Bulletin, I feel like we've talked about him before. And I'm getting this information from IGN, by the way, that there is a new Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game reportedly in the works, not being developed by EA and BioWare. So that's basically all we have. That there is the possibility that we're going to get this like Knights of the Old Republic game, that EA and BioWare are not involved. Bespin Bulletin said that, quote, "We'll never guess who's the studio who's making this game." They said, amongst his digging, I heard there is a Knights of the Old Republic project in development somewhere. This insider said that they talked to a couple people, and they found that Jason Schreier, renowned video game journalist Jason Schreier, said that it's not with EA. So, yeah, that's a rumor. Take it as you will. Mm-hmm. Christian, what do you think?
So, as somebody who has very, very recently begun digging through KOTOR, I'm about like 10 hours in maybe to my first time playing through KOTOR. I definitely get the hype, and I think this is exciting because recently, Mike, especially doing this show and like branching out to other avenues of Star Wars besides movie and TV, I have found an increasingly low level of patience for non-canon things. Things can be good, but if it's not canon, I don't care, really. There's too much new stuff. So
yeah, you want to keep abreast on the new stuff.
Exactly, yeah. And that's not to say that some of the old stuff isn't worth exploring. Like, it absolutely is. Like, KOTOR, I think, coming back in the new canon is an inevitability. What I think is interesting about this is that, yes, it makes sense because this is something people have wanted for so long. In terms of we'll never guess who was making it, that's a challenge that I will accept.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. We got an announcement from Ubisoft. I don't think Activision touches this. EA, we know it's not EA. So where my head goes is Square Enix, who makes the Final Fantasies. Those are RPGs. Those are heavy RPGs.
All right.
And Western Square Enix has done Deus Ex, Tomb Raider, more recently, and there's some good things here, but Avengers. I could see a world where we get a big chunky RPG from Square Enix, because they do have a really good history of making solid RPGs from their Japanese and Western studios, and KOTOR is very much a Western RPG type thing.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I could see Obsidian and like an Xbox type deal go down with this, but I don't know.
I'm not super familiar with Square Enix myself, but I feel like Obsidian would make sense though. Like, you know, they've already done the RPG sort of thing.
Mhm.
Not to say that disqualifies them, but I feel like they have their own like specific style with like they did the Outer Worlds and New Vegas, correct?
They did, yeah, and I believe they did KOTOR 2, the second one.
Oh, did they? I thought it was BioWare both of them. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought BioWare was just the first one. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, it makes me think, right? Like, so does this disqualify, you know, us? Like, if this is true,
Mhm.
let's just assume that there is a new Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic game. Does this sort of is my dream for a remastered KOTOR just completely out of the window? Do you think?
I think you'd have to look for like fan mods or something at that point for like HD texture packs or something along those lines at this point. Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'm sorry. I think it's dead.
no, that's like so upsetting to me, Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think you're probably right.
Mm-hmm. But think about this though. Rather than, because this is what I hope to see out of this, as somebody who is vaguely familiar with the story of KOTOR. I've known about Revan my entire life. Really, I don't remember when I found that out, but I've known. I think what could be interesting, and I think I've talked to you about this, Mike. Early in KOTOR, they really go in on talking about the Mandalorians and the Mandalorian Jedi Wars.
Sure.
And for how hot, like spicy, boiling hot, Mandalorians are right now,
Mm-hmm.
I bet rather than retread Revan and Malak and Nihilus, we get further back than KOTOR 1. We just get the Mandalorian Wars as a Knights of the Old Republic game, and then everybody's happy. Nobody gets upset that they destroyed Revan or did it wrong. Like, we get new stuff.
Interesting, but like I guess that sort of makes me wonder.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Revan at some point has to be introduced in the current canon.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I don't think Disney's gonna like sort of just like completely throw away the concept of Revan, because I think it's really powerful. It's a very cool story.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably Disney it up and figure out a way to do it themselves. But like, do you think that story will just be told in a different way, or do you think that it would still? I don't know. Do you think they'd retool it to sort of make it fit in that time period, or like what?
I think they probably would. Honestly, I could see. We get a Knights of the Old Republic RPG, and it is about the Mandalorian Wars, and then towards the end of that game, it's revealed that a big presence in the galaxy at the moment is Darth Revan, and then KOTOR 2 is a retelling and reconfiguring of Darth Revan's story to fit in the new canon, and then a KOTOR 3, you know, to round out this hypothetical trilogy from Square Enix, maybe. That sort of wraps everything up, and then it's like, okay, that's our basis for the canon, like Old Republic timeline in the new era. And I think that's probably something I'd be really excited about if they did it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to point out that like the previous rumor that had been going around, you know, that EA was going to take elements of KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 and just like make a new game.
Mm-hmm. I
think that sort of fits into what we were talking about just now, Christian. Like that's still possible. That's still a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if EA is not the publisher or whatever, like that doesn't necessarily mean that those games are not going to have any influence.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting thing to think about. I'm kind of excited for it. I hope that it's true. Like, I think our friend and friend of the pod, Jack Martin, did say in our group chat, though I don't know if any of us responded to him, that Tim Geddes from Kinda Funny was speculating that the new KOTOR game would be Knights of the High Republic.
I don't buy it.
You don't buy it?
No, I don't buy it. I think if anything, that Ubisoft game is High Republic, because I think High Republic would be a good thing to explore, because it's still kind of familiar to a certain extent, and having an open world game makes sense. Like, I think if you want to delve in with an RPG, a long meaty RPG with a rich story, you use that to develop something that you haven't touched yet. High Republic has the benefit of a bunch of novels, you know. KOTOR won't get that.
I mean, don't you think that it would be sort of like confusing at some point though to people who aren't like initiated into the Star Wars lore and culture as we are?
Yeah,
Like,
which I could see a world where the Old Republic gets relabeled. Honestly, I could see that.
interesting, interesting.
Yeah, like the era of Sith. I don't know, because it was the Sith army, maybe like, or just call it Star Wars: The Mandalorian Wars. There you go.
True.
Like that makes it work.
Yeah, that's true. They don't necessarily have to call it the Old Republic.
Exactly. So.
Well, interesting stuff. So why don't we move away from some of the? Do you have anything else to add on that, Christian?
Oh no,
I don't mean to.
that was everything.
Okay, so let's move away from some of the rumors and talk about some of the most recent news in the Star Wars universe. From Galaxy Far, Far Away, we have some interesting information about Andor Season 1 that may come as a shock and sort of sad for some people, including myself.
Yeah.
So it was sort of revealed over the past week that both Alan Tudyk, who played K2SO in Rogue One, and Riz Ahmed, who played Bodhi Rook in Rogue One, both of those actors say that they're not in Andor Season 1. And so this is sort of treading back from something Disney had said. They had sort of said that Andor was going to be a story with Diego Luna and his character Cassian Andor, obviously, and Alan Tudyk with K2SO, sort of like reprising those roles for this TV series. And talking to Collider, Tudyk said that he won't be in the first season. He says that they're shooting it right now. I'm not in it. He says, but if it stays on the air, stories keep getting told, I'll end up in there. I'm going to be in the show. It's just the story that Tony Gilroy is telling doesn't involve K2SO until later on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And Riz Ahmed, in an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, also says something a little bit more definitive than Alan Tudyk. When asked of his possibility of appearing in Andor, he said, I just haven't heard of that, to be honest.
Sure.
So there you go. I believe Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, so because also with Riz Ahmed, I was wondering, like, how would he be involved? Because, like, him and Cassian didn't really meet until later, because he was a Imperial guy that defected. And I couldn't see them tell a story. It's like, oh, flashing back and forth between the both sides.
Totally. I don't think anyone was really expecting Riz Ahmed to be in there.
Sure.
But just like having that confirmation, I believe it. Like it's not in there. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make any sense for Bodhi Rook to be in the show. I mean,
yeah.
But Alan Tudyk, on the other hand, that is upsetting.
Yeah, because you have to wonder, like, with Rogue One, I always got the sense that Cassian and K2 had, like, a good 5 to 10 years working with each other, right?
Yeah.
So, like, that's just the camaraderie they had, and it felt like they were in that groove of sort of, like, getting each other. I wonder then how far back we're going with Cassian. Like, is Andor going to be 10 years before Rogue One? Like, Diego Luna, I feel like he could, he could play a convincing 23-year-old if he wanted to, I guess. But, like,
they could de-age him too.
Yeah, like
they got the crazy technology to do that.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess I'm just curious, like, what the approach they take is. Like, how long was K2 actually in the whole operation? Because I always thought they had a good back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that does, you make a good point, Christian. It sort of just like gives us a better idea about what the story is going to be. Because Alan Tudyk is not sitting there talking to Collider saying that he's not going to be in the show, like, at all. He's saying that there's a place for him, and that the character does come up later on, obviously. But it's just like how that happens and when that happens is sort of up in the air. I think you're right. I think, like, Diego Luna can easily play a younger Cassian Andor. I don't think that's a problem. And I think that, there's a story to be told as to how this Imperial droid got in the hands of the rebellion, got into the hands of being, Diego Luna's friend. So, I mean, yeah, I think, it's upsetting, but at least he's saying that there is a plan for him.
Oh, for sure. And, like, while it is a bummer, it's only so much of a bummer. Because, like, straight up, Cassian is, like, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars at this point. I think he's such an interesting character to, like, delve into. he's my favorite part of Rogue One. So, and like Diego Luna's incredible in this role. He's very enthusiastic about it. So like, I'm still hyped for Andor, like very, very highly. And I am excited to just see Cassian explored even further, and he'll probably keep climbing up my ranks of favorite characters. So
yeah, I mean, like the show is Andor, not K2,
sure.
right? So, so like, yeah, it's gonna be like an origin story, I would assume.
Yeah,
so, makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, let's talk a bit about The Mandalorian. Just a really quick hit news bite here. The American Film Institute named The Mandalorian one of the top 10 television programs of 2020. Not surprising.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that. The American Film Institute.
Yeah, I never knew they made their own top 10s.
Yeah, but in case you were wondering, I guess they thought it was a quality TV show. Christian and I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, though, we have some more Mandalorian news, and this comes from IndieWire. Pedro Pascal had an interview with them, and he delved into his involvement in The Mandalorian. He indicated that the team at Lucasfilm are hard at work figuring out how to go to working on a single series, The Mandalorian, to multiple shows that will interact and lead up to a big climactic event. So we had talked about this previously. Kathleen Kennedy at Investor Day 2020, 2021?
Yeah.
Talked about and announced like 10 different TV shows. She said that, The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, the Book of Boba Fett, and then Rangers of the New Republic are all going to be sort of like taking place in the same time period and will sort of come together in this big climactic event. And so Pedro Pascal said, quote, "I am told what's happening and what the plan is, but I can't share it. They're in the expansion of this world where there are so many unexpected surprises and timelines that are going to be dealt with. If the character were to cross over into these worlds, it would be utilized in a way that isn't meant to be expected. I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise of whether or not characters from the show we already know are crossing over." So interesting. I think, I mean, I don't know what this could mean anything. I kind of assume that all 4 of these shows will be taking place like literally like concurrently with one another, right? Like just like taking place in different times or parts of the galaxy. But it seems as though these different shows will be taking place in different time periods as well. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think the way they work that in is most like, because I would be shocked if Mandalorian and Rangers at least aren't exact same time, just different parts of the galaxy. I think that makes perfect sense of like the New Republic expanding, Mando going about his business. Like that makes perfect sense of like these two things, exactly what you said. You expected this to be concurrent. Book of Boba Fett, I would also throw into that with the asterisk that I think we could be exploring a bit more of his past, so like the Sarlacc pit, which is 5 years prior. And then I could also see flashbacks to, like, between episodes 3 and 4, maybe. Because I really do want to see a bit more of Boba Fett in his early years or something. Like, maybe the first time he met Jabba. I don't know. Like, I think Book of Boba Fett implies that it's, like, his history, That's what I get from the title.
I think that's probably accurate. And now, thinking about this news... does this sort of confirm the fact that we're going to get a big time jump in Mandalorian season 3? Do you think the possibility of that happening has gone up now with this news?
Maybe, but I don't know. I feel like I'm still looking towards Ahsoka to be the linchpins of what he's talking about here in terms of like what is going on with timeline stuff, because her art for that show is like alluding to the world between worlds, right? So like there's also the idea that Filoni implied that her showing up in Mando maybe before the end of Rebels. So like I think with Ahsoka specifically, we could be moving around, and then between that and flashbacks in Boba Fett that I'm assuming is going to happen. Maybe that's what we're working to here. But I could very much see a time skip. Like, how do you think a time skip would be handled?
Are you asking me how I think a time skip is going to be handled?
Yeah, like, is it going to be 20 years? Like, what do you think of when you hear time skip?
like I don't know. It's just like the way that we left off in the Mandalorian just makes me think that like they can't just pick up like the day after like Luke takes Grogu, you know?
Right.
Like there has to be some sort of like, you know, time period where like the Mandalorian has to like go through that loss, right? Like I feel like it just wouldn't be as impactful if it was like not that significant of a time jump. I was thinking maybe like 5 years. Like
Sure.
that's what was in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I had the preconception that all of these shows would be concurrent because thinking about the Ahsoka episode in The Mandalorian season 2, it seemed like it was a bottle episode in a way. Like it was, what do they call that when they like test something in a seat, like
Backdoor pilot.
A backdoor pilot. It seemed like a backdoor pilot. It certainly was a backdoor pilot, and like it just seemed like that. Like, you know, like if Ahsoka was already happening, we just sort of like dipped into the Mandalorian for a second and then came right back out. Like it seemed like Ahsoka was already on her own like journey, right? So that's why I thought it was going to be concurrent. Those are my thoughts. Like I don't know.
I know that the big speculation and theory that we've talked about, mainly I've talked about in the show, is that the big thing we're building towards is the Siege of Mandalore 2 in live action. Yeah. But now that like Luke is involved, and I've also said this theory of like, I think eventually we'll get a new 7, 8, 9 that just makes the current 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Not undoing anything, but just like fleshing it out the way that the prequels fleshed out 4, 5, 6 of being the originals. Now they're the later. It's weird how Star Wars does that, but
Lord knows we need it.
Yeah. Like I brought this up to Jack, I think, and Jack said that he could see this be explored through television, even though I'm saying movies, but like I could see a world also where the thing we're building towards is sort of a modern version, like Filoni's take on Heir to the Empire, maybe, that like all the shows that we're planting seeds for will build up to a point where it's like Luke, Grogu, Mando, Ahsoka taking on Thrawn, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, that would be cool. I think like it's definitely all sort of like building up to this one big thing. It's just I have the impression that they were going to be sort of taking place around the same time. And it's interesting that it seems like that's not the case. I don't know. I really don't have nothing else personally to say about this other than the fact that like I'm just really curious to see what they do with all of this. I you know, Dave Filoni introduced the World Between Worlds in like Rebels season whatever, and then like it was never talked about again. And so you know that like that's coming up at some point, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It just depends on when that is and like how it's going to be utilized. Really.
So before we move on, I have a question.
Yeah.
Was the time travel stuff in the Lego Holiday Special, was that World Between Worlds stuff?
No.
No, okay.
No, it wasn't. Okay. It was like I don't really know what that is. The Lego Holiday Special is awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what that thing is that they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if you have anything else to say about this, Christian.
No, I'm excited, and I do hope that whatever we're building towards is, and I'm sure it will be worthwhile, and I just hope that regardless of what the direction is, I do hope that Mando stays consistent with what's been so good about it, you know?
Totally.
Because things can get muddled when we get like a bunch of TV shows in the same universe, like the Arrowverse gets a little wild. I was there for like 2 years and I had to tap out.
So one last question that kind of just like went into my head real quick, like, so these are all television, right? And they're building up to like this event. Like, are we gonna get like a movie, like a Disney Plus movie?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know, like, because that's Marvel. That's what Marvel's doing, right? Like right now they have WandaVision, they have Winter Soldier in March as a show, and then they have all these shows, and presumably we're gonna get another Avengers movie, and these are all tying into the universe still. So then, like, Haley Steinfeld is the new Hawkeye. I'm sure she'll be in the next Avengers movie. So like, I could see them take a similar approach. I really could. I just, that'd be really interesting. I don't know when that would happen. I don't know if it'd be a single movie or a trilogy or what, but I could see it.
Yeah, man. Like, there's just so many possibilities that kind of, it just makes me giddy. Like I feel like a kid.
Yeah.
Like it's really awesome that we're having like this time period where we're there's a lot of focus on Star Wars and they're really fleshing it out, and I love it.
One final thing, I promise.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I think it's funny too because, especially after season 2 of Mandalorian ended, and then what we're getting teased with like Thrawn and Ahsoka and maybe more Luke stuff of like, I feel like the people who are like very, very disappointed with the core cast of the originals and the sequels like forget that we have 30 years that we can still explore, and this is exciting because it's doing that, you know.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's you said something about like Heir to the Empire, that would be cool. Like I know that was a book trilogy and everything, but like this is what it is, man. So why don't we move on to some lighter news? I have 2 more news clips here, and you know what? I'm gonna skip to the bottom one on our list. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, my most anticipated game of 2021 because I'm a loser and I have no taste. But
hey, it's up there for me. It's up there.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that doesn't make me feel as bad. But so, talking to the official PlayStation magazine, Don McDermott, lead hub designer at Traveler's Tales Games, the studio that's making the Lego Star Wars game, revealed that the new Lego Star Wars game will feature around 800 unique characters, and 300 of them will be fully playable, including Babu Frick, in case you were wondering. So further, the game will allow people to explore both planets and space battles across 28 different locations. So the older game's level-based structure is being mixed with open-world exploration. That's something that we kind of already knew. And everything is being rebuilt from the ground up with a new engine. So yeah, another interesting thing that he said is that Traveler's Tales looked at parts of the films that could be expanded on. For example, Finn's role in Rise of Skywalker. McDermott said that this is, quote, their chance to put things right.
Oh boy.
So yeah, Christian, what do you think about that?
Finn with a lightsaber. So I'll say this just in regard to the final thing you just said. The Force Awakens Lego game, I believed, is what gave us the story of C-3PO's red arm. So like, maybe this will shed some light on stuff. Maybe this will canonize some things, which could be neat. Specifically, 300 playable characters. We got room for Hondo, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't in any of the movies though, which is like
no, but I still think that what we could be getting is, remember how in the original Lego games it was like, okay, here's the room for the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and then you go in the room and then there's like the chapters.
Yeah,
I think we get one dedicated chapter for Clone Wars, Rebels, Solo, Rogue One, Mandalorian, just as a way to get those characters in that game.
Interesting. Do you think that that's going to be like part of the base game, or is that going to be like DLC?
I could see it be either. I could see maybe the movies get included in the base game, and then through like the season pass they do the shows, because I know Lego with their recent games have been doing season passes, and like I think one of the Marvel ones eventually it was like, oh, here's the Black Panther pack, here's the Infinity War pack, you know, like these weren't in the game, but here's a level with some characters. So I could see that.
I mean, yeah, I think that's just too easy of like a marketing opportunity for Lego to be like, here's the Skywalker Saga game with all 9 movies, and that's like, cool, that's what I expected from the Skywalker Saga. And then they come back later and they're like, do you want to play the Clone Wars? Like, give us $20. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, I think that's likely
such an easy way to make money for them.
So that season pass, I'll probably buy it, especially if you get all the shows in there, because like I'm saying, I want to play as Hondo, I want to play as Mando, other characters, Rex.
Yeah, so I guess if there are going to be 800 unique characters, right, and 300 of them are going to be fully playable, other than Hondo, I guess, which like ancillary, tertiary character are you most excited to play as, or hope to play as?
That is a good question. Ice cream guy.
You want to play as Ice Cream
Wildrow
Guy?
Hood, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Will Rowe, but
Will Row. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Also, I could see a world, before I move on from what we were just mentioning. We're like, they're saying new perspective, right? Or like expanding upon. Episode 3, just working out Siege of Mandalore stuff, and then Ahsoka's in the game. You know, that's all you really need.
Yeah, it's true. So it's really true.
But
it all happens at the same time. So.
Exactly. Yeah, just have a cut to after, like, when Obi-Wan goes here. Okay, now Ahsoka does her thing, and then we continue on. But what about you? Is there any random characters you want to see?
This character was actually in the gameplay trailer. Mm-hmm. I just want to play as Yaddle, dude. Like,
sure.
I think that's really funny. Mm-hmm. Also, I really hope that Yarael Poof is a playable character. The Jedi Council Yarael Poof from Episode 1.
I am blanking at the moment.
Also is in Light of the Jedi. Really long neck. Sort of looks like a Kaminoan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope that he's in the game. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think that, I hope that they do what we all hope that they do with Finn. Mm-hmm. The Lego holiday special sort of did make him a Jedi. Mm-hmm. Let's set the record straight. Let's do what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. Let's make him a freaking Jedi already. Exactly. Mm-hmm. So anything else to say about that? There's no release date on this as far as I know. I'm excited and waiting.
I believe the date is still pending to be spring. I think you brought up May 4th. Makes sense. I think May 4th is probably the best time to drop this, honestly, with what we've seen and how much there's left to talk about it.
They need to say something about it soon. It's kind of coming down on the wire, I feel.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to our last piece of news here. This is kind of just like a fun little thing that I saw. If you use the mail in the United States, you can buy new Star Wars stamps. So kind of fun. I have a bunch of stamps here, actually. They're not as cool. They're just the American flag. Mm-hmm. But I wish I had one that I could just like put R2-D2 on my envelopes. So yeah, you could buy a bunch of Star Wars stamps from the United States Postal Service now. R2-D2, K2SO, BB-8, C-3PO, Chopper, L3, 3O, right? Something like that. Mm-hmm. Dio from Rise of Skywalker, IG-11, and of course, a Gonk droid. So
I'm gonna send all of my student loan payments with Gonk droid stamps. I'm waiting. Honestly, also, I'm ready for the articles that's like, Edge Rider Millennial Gen Zers can't pay for houses because they buy their Star Wars stamps.
No, seriously, like, I know that, when you buy stamps, they like come in a roll and like you don't really get to choose which ones you get. I just want to buy a roll of stamps with just the Gonk droid. I just want a roll, like a big roll of Gonk droid stamps.
Yeah. That's weirdly I'm just thinking of like all the things you could send in the mail, because like email is the way to go now, but like I feel like physical mail is like legit business. I'd be slapping Gonk droid stamps on all of my very serious pieces of mail.
That's what I'm thinking about. Like, did you vote using the mail in November?
I did, yes.
Yeah, see, like, that would have been a perfect opportunity to just slap the Gonk droid stamp on your ballot. You know? If only we had that in 2020. 2021's already better. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think that's really all I had for news. So, barring nothing else, we can start to talk about what we really wanted to talk about here on episode number 66. Christian, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. So
we had the great idea to talk about every single Order 66 scene in visual Star Wars media is the ones that I picked out, because I guess there are a bunch in like print and stuff. But...
Sure, and like I think old Battlefront 2 had a playable scene. I think like there was a campaign mission I remember specifically, but like that was like 2006 like video game stuff. It's barely anything.
Yeah, so why don't we just say that we're going to be ranking the Order 66 scenes, and we're going to be ranking the Order 66 Jedi, um, but we're only going to be focusing on like visual representations
Sure.
of Order 66.
Now, I have a question for ranking the Jedi.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how we're going to do that. A separate ranking, like
Yeah, so I was gonna say, when we do rank the Jedi, should we rank it on like the saddest people we lost? Like, what was the most upsetting loss for the team, or is it like just like, oh, who's the best? Like, who's the most powerful number one that we lost to this incident? You know?
I think saddest.
Sure. Okay.
I think we're just going to pick the ones that hit us the most.
Sure.
So I don't really know what the best way to do this, but I think first, before we talk about the individual Order 66 scenes, we should talk about the scene that sort of kicked it all off.
Sure.
Revenge of the Sith, the original Order 66 scene with Mace Windu versus Palpatine, right? And then Anakin comes running in and is like, "What's going on here?" And basically, Mace Windu's got his lightsaber up to Palpatine's neck as Palpatine's force lightning him, and Anakin's got to choose who to save. That's sort of just that's the beginning of it. Now this scene sort of shows up in Revenge of the Sith, but it also shows up later on in the Clone Wars, sort of at the same time. Really cool stuff. And obviously Anakin kills Mace Windu, pushes him out of the window. He becomes Darth Vader. Darth Sidious, gives him a bunch of missions, go kill all the Jedi, and he says the infamous words, "Execute Order 66." So, how do you want to do this, Christian?
I think, if we rank the scenes first, like the interpretations first, I think that would be a good way to parse out the Jedi we lose, because I can already tell that across the different mediums, there will be a few that will slip through the cracks if we try to do Jedi first.
Okay. So we should do the scenes first.
I think so.
So why don't we start off with Revenge of the Sith, since
Sure.
that's the first thing that we get. So obviously we have the scene where Palpatine executes Order 66. We have a scene of actually Commander Cody firing on Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi on Utapau, trying to kill him, doesn't work. So we're not going to count that one. But we get a montage after that of a lot of different deaths.
Yeah.
And these are in no particular order. But the first one that I remembered was Ki-Adi-Mundi being killed by blaster fire on a bridge on Megiddo. Now, what I remember from this scene, Christian, is the way Ki-Adi-Mundi says, "Come on!" to all the clone troopers behind him, completely unaware that they have just turned on him.
Yeah.
And it's the saddest thing ever, because he's like so into it, and then he just gets murked.
Yeah, that scene has big energy of like in, I guess, sitcoms where like somebody has to volunteer and then like the entire group steps back, and there's just the one guy left. Like, that's what that feels like. And that is specifically, that's the scene I remember from Battlefront in the game. And I guess maybe that's why it kind of stuck with me for so long, is just because I remembered playing that mission as Ki-Adi-Mundi. But I'll also say that for Order 66 in Revenge of the Sith, like, it's an interesting planet, right? Because it's like an industrial type place with snow, which isn't really something we see a lot in Star Wars. It's never really snow on top of man-made structures. So as far as like setting the tone, grayscale, lots of black and white, that sort of kicks it off.
Yeah, I know Ki-Adi-Mundi also. He manages to hold up. He holds his own for a while.
Yeah, he deflects a few shots.
I think he takes a few clone troopers down with him. So yeah, too much blaster fire though. He's only one Jedi. He can only do so much, right? And he dies, unfortunately, on that bridge on Megiddo. R.I.P. Ki-Adi-Mundi. So another scene from Revenge of the Sith, something that like I kind of like forgot about, but Actually, no, this is not the one that I forgot about. We have Ayla Secura on Felucia, I think, the planet with like all the really colorful flora and fauna and all that kind of stuff. And she is with just a bunch of clone troopers, just sort of walking through Felucia, and she gets shot in the back. Right. I think she looks down at something, and then as she like gets up, she doesn't even realize, and she gets killed instantly. And she doesn't even put up a fight, I don't think.
Mike, through Star Wars TikTok, I have learned some very interesting things about this particular part of Order 66.
Oh, really? Okay.
That makes it incredibly interesting. All
right.
So, if you remember, I don't know if this is Legends or not anymore, but this is an interesting tidbit. If you remember in Order 66, when Ayla Secura falls, they don't stop shooting her. Right? Like, they just keep shooting at her corpse.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know the name of the commander for her platoon of clones, but apparently, whoever the commanding officer was for that clone troop and her had a thing. Like, they were lovers.
What?
And he got the order, and he couldn't do it, so he didn't stop firing just because he wanted to make sure she was dead and wouldn't suffer.
Oh my god, that's so sad.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know. Like, I don't think that's canon anymore, but like, man.
Yeah, that's really sad. Like, I guess Anakin wasn't the only one in the Jedi Order with some secret lovers, man.
Yeah, man, Qui-Gon had some people. Like.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think Qui-Gon was probably hot back in his prime,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like something about this scene too. The camera like pans up like aerial style, like from this like a part of Felucia where she gets shot, and there's like this big leaf that sort of just like covers her as the camera moves up, and they're still shooting at her, which I always kind of thought was like interesting because like maybe George Lucas wanted to cover up some gross stuff,
Yeah.
I don't know. Moving on, next in the montage, I don't know if this is actually next, but we have the death of Plo Koon, the Jedi Master who found Ahsoka Tano. He dies while piloting a starfighter in atmosphere on Cato Nemoidia. That thing on Cato Nemoidia doesn't count. But yes, that was an Obi-Wan quote, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, he dies while piloting a starfighter. Two clone troopers that were like piloting next to him sort of like pulled back and just like blow him up.
Mike, you can't see this, but ever since you mentioned his name, I've been saluting.
Yeah.
Man is an icon.
He is an icon.
And it's funny. This is another thing I've seen discussed. I did a video about this for my account on TikTok, and I said it was mostly a joke, but I was like, if it's like, oh, George Lucas had to kill Plo Koon in a spaceship because Lord knows boots on the ground, it would have been over for the Empire. Like, a lot of people like supported that, and I was like, oh, really? Okay, because apparently he can do like some weird Jedi Force lightning or stuff. Again, I think it's Legends, but man, Plo Koon.
Interesting. I didn't know that, but yeah, I mean, I always thought that he was kind of just like one of the most like low key badass Jedi.
Dude, I love Plo Koon. He's awesome.
Totally, and like I feel like he would have put up a fight if he were on the ground.
Yeah, if he was with Mace Windu, would have played out different. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, well, you're saying if he was with Mace Windu on Coruscant?
Yeah, if he was there,
it would have been over.
Yeah.
Just like roll the credits, like directed by George Lucas right then. Anyway, so yeah, that is like probably one of the more sad ones for sure. If you're getting a sense of like, for the viewers, getting a sense of which ones Christian and I are going to be placing higher on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, plus like it has the benefit of Clone Wars, fleshing him out further. Because in the films he only had a couple lines, I think. Like on the council, maybe he had like a nod or something, but yeah, Clone Wars really made him one of my favorite characters of the prequel era. He's really cool, really interesting. very interesting Jedi, very powerful. So
I have to say the two, like he goes down in a blaze of glory. Like it's pretty cool to see.
yeah.
Anyways, moving on. This is the one that I forgot about. Stas Ali. Now that's a Jedi. She was killed while riding a speeder bike on Seleucami. This is one of the moments in Revenge of the Sith. Honestly, I forgot about it, Christian.
Yeah, like they pull back, right, and then they just light her up. Is that what it is?
Yeah, they're like riding next to her. Yeah, and then they just like pull back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know who Stas Ali is, to be quite honest with you.
Me either.
So, there you go. Moving on, we have Zet Jukasa, who was played by George Lucas's son, Jet Lucas, which is a great name, by the way, on Coruscant as Bail Organa is getting in his ship. So Bail Organa talks to a bunch of clones, and he's trying to get into like the Senate building or something like that. And they're like, "You gotta go," and
It's
he's
time
like,
for you to leave.
"Right, yeah." And he's like, "And so it is, right?" And he gets in his starfighter, and as he's in the starfighter, we get Zet Jukasa coming out there. Like, he probably takes down the most clone troopers with him in the entire montage.
Yeah.
But yeah, he also dies. And we get a nice little Jimmy Smith's Bail Organa like no, screaming no. Mm-hmm. So that's good. What do you think about this scene?
Interesting. It's made better that, thanks to what you pointed out, that George Lucas's son is the one that takes the most clones going out. Like, that's funny. So that definitely adds to it. And honestly, important for Bail Organa too, because like it always seemed like he was friendly with the Jedi and stuff, and he was like they're right, but I think probably seeing the clones mow down a child is probably what pushed him to really go on and side with Obi-Wan and Yoda.
That is really interesting, Christian. I never really sort of thought about that scene in the context of like Bail Organa's character. Mm-hmm. That must have put a number on him.
Yeah, dude.
Like, to watch that is pretty brutal. Mm-hmm. No wonder he was like, the Rebel Alliance for a while.
Yeah.
So, lastly, in Revenge of the Sith, and I don't think I'm missing anything after this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christian, if you can think of anything. But I think this is it. Other than just like general Jedi deaths, like in the Jedi Temple.
Right.
We see a few of those, but the last one from Revenge of the Sith is the infamous youngling slaughter by Anakin. Mm-hmm. And apparently, I didn't know this until today, that the character who asks Anakin, like, "Master, there's too many of them, what are we gonna do?" before he ignites his lightsaber, has a name. Sors Bandim is that little boy's name. And yeah, so Sors Bandim unfortunately dies, and so does many other younglings killed by Anakin.
I think we talked about this recently on the show, but there was also a story that came out very, very recently that in that scene when Anakin was killing the younglings, when he like ignites his lightsaber in the film, Hayden Christensen screamed "boo" at them.
Oh yeah.
And that's why he does like a little like step back when the lightsaber goes up.
That is true. There is like he does, like the actor does look kind of scared.
Yeah.
Taken aback for a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cute, really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, super sad. So anyways, I think that's really it for Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure there are some, like Yaddle, right? She's never saw her die, but she's gone, right? Like same with who else is on the council?
Yeah, I don't know.
pretty much everybody, right? Like, and yeah, there's nothing else from Revenge of the Sith here. Sure.
I mean, like, yeah, I guess we should say that like these are only like the visualizations, and like there are many other Jedi who die.
Right.
So moving on to the Clone Wars, actually, we have I think it's season 6. It's like one of the Yoda arc. It's the Yoda arc. Yoda has a vision of Order 66 before it happens, where he sees Anakin killing Shakti in the Jedi Temple. Now, this is interesting because of two reasons and two deleted scenes from Revenge of the Sith. Originally, in the first cut of Revenge of the Sith, George Lucas wanted General Grievous to kill Shakti, who, was assigned to protect the Emperor, not the Emperor, Chancellor Palpatine at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. So there's a deleted scene of General Grievous killing Shakti in front of Obi-Wan and Anakin on his Trade Federation ship.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith where Anakin kills Shakti in the Jedi Temple.
Hmm.
So both of those were taken out, and there really wasn't any sort of canon answer as to what happened to Shakti.
Mm-hmm.
Until this vision that Yoda has where he sees Anakin kill Shakti. So you have to assume that would be in the Jedi Temple, and you'd have to assume that obviously General Grievous did not do that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Clone Wars did say that Shakti was assigned to protect her, but I guess she must have protect Chancellor Palpatine at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, but I guess she must have gotten out. So there you go. There's one.
Very nice.
And also the infamous Ahsoka and Rex on the Venator, the end of season 7,
mm-hmm.
the Siege of Mandalore, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm. But
great stuff.
Specifically, I think everything surrounding the end of that season elevates it, but specifically, Ahsoka on the ship leaving, feeling the disturbance, going to the room, Rex pulls the gun on her, and then that to the end,
Yeah, when she's standing on the bridge of the Venator and she can hear what's happening in Coruscant
mm-hmm.
in real time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is insane.
Yeah, and then a few moments later, Rex realizes, or he gets the command, and that whole sequence of the rush to try and stop it and everything. I count all of that. I don't obviously not the ending with Vader and all that, but up to them escaping at least, and Maul escaping and all that stuff.
Yeah, I really honestly say that up until them escaping in the Venator crashing on that planet. I think that's the end of that scene there.
I agree.
And yeah, it's really interesting to watch. Rex is able to get fives out of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of he's able to sort of commandeer his own programming for a second,
mm-hmm.
which I think is really interesting. He had the willpower to sort of not follow that for just the briefest of seconds.
Right.
So yeah, we got those two, and moving on from the Clone Wars, we'll talk about Jedi Fallen Order. We have the infamous Order 66 scene with Jaro Tapal on the Venator over Braca. Now, I think this, you play as a young Cal Kestis, and you kind of just go through this as he's going through it,
mm-hmm.
and it's pretty sad at the end. Cal learns a lot about himself. He learns a lot about the force powers that he has as he tries to save his master.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, Jaro Tapal does kick the bucket in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Killed by a bunch of clones, and his dual-bladed, double-edged lightsaber is sort of destroyed halfway. After that, there's also a scene from the second sister's perspective where she hides in a cave with a Rodian and Seer.
Mm-hmm.
Before she turns into the second sister.
Right.
That's super brief, and I kind of just remembered that from my own memory. I don't know, I couldn't even find it online. But
yeah, it's I remember it's a first person perspective. You see Seer in her Jedi garb, and then she's like, "I'll be back," and then she doesn't come back, and that's what spawns the second sister. But yeah, I think that's everything. There's no flashbacks to Order 66 in Rebels, as far as I know.
I don't think so.
In terms of other media, I think that's it, right? There's really not there's been video games that aren't canon anymore that just redo the Anakin thing. I remember the Episode 3 game, you actually go through the temple as Anakin.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's really it. I don't think Force Unleashed touches on it either, but yeah, I think we hit all at once.
I assume that like there's a book somewhere or
Yeah.
like a comic book somewhere that we don't know about, but like we said in the beginning of this, we're just going to focus on the visual representations in film, TV. So with that said, like that's pretty much all of them that we can think of. Christian, like in terms of like, do you want to just do like maybe top three and like like your lowest or something like that? I don't know if we need to rank all of them. If you want to, we can. But
I think we can find a top 5.
Yeah, top 5.
I think we can do a top 5. I think number 1. Like, tell me if you disagree with this, but I do think the best Order 66 scene. I think it's Ahsoka and Rex.
Yeah, you're right, I think.
Okay, I'm glad we agree on that. Because, like, Order 66, the montage is great, but you don't really get to stew on any of them, you know? Like, I know it's the iconic thing, but, like, even with Order 66 in the film, a lot of the sad deaths are fleshed out from Clone Wars, right? And Clone Wars very easily could have just been like, hey, look, you get to watch the exact same scene again with, like, our animated versions of these characters you love dying again. But instead they decided to do, like, really flesh out Ahsoka and Rex's characters, give a new perspective on it, and show, like you said, the power of Rex. He's always seemed like a different sort of clone. So I think there's a lot to love about the Ahsoka and Rex Order 66 scene, personally.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of depth in that scene, personally. I agree with everything that you said, Christian. In Revenge of the Sith, it's sort of just like shock, right? Like it's like death after death after death in like 3 minutes. And so there's not a lot of time, like you said, to sort of just like feel those emotions. And spending so much time in the Clone Wars with Ahsoka and Rex, you're right. This is definitely like the most impactful scene, especially just like how it all ends up.
Yeah, and I also think that this helps it as well, but ending your show on Order 66, basically, that's pretty good.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
That helps. Now, do you have a solid runner-up in mind? Because I'm torn on 2.
So, yeah, I have a good... personally, I do have a runner-up. I really think that the Jaro Tapal scene is awesome.
Same page, Mike. Same page.
Like, it's funny too because we're talking about like the newer iterations of this, right? Like, like we're not talking about the nostalgia factor. We're really just talking about like, these are like these moments of Star Wars history that we get to like play out, that we get to see in the Clone Wars and play out in Jedi Fallen Order. Like, they are so impactful, and when you played through most of Jedi Fallen Order, and like you feel like you are Cal Kestis, and you feel like Jaro Tapal like is your dad, when he dies, it's really sad. And like I just like the whole sequence of sort of like sneaking around the Venator and stuff. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I love that playing through that sequence is really interesting too, as a youngling, basically, or a Padawan, because you don't have a saber, but you're using the Force to like shut out the clones and stop their attacks. But what I also appreciate is that, one, we get Jaro Tapal's dope lightsaber out of it, and 2, on a more emotional side, I forget if this comes before or after, but we have to kill a manifestation of Jaro Tapal as Cal. So like it's really going in on him, like letting go of that thing that he blamed himself for. So it's a really good moment for Cal in like modern timeline too.
Oh, for sure. I think like we sort of experienced this whole thing through like a flashback, but it's almost like a vision for Cal. He sort of he learns a lot about himself throughout all of it, and not only does he learn about like himself and his abilities as a Jedi, like in the moment, like you said, Christian, he learns about himself when he has to like relive it. And it's a really great scene. Sometimes I find myself just like watching it again. Yeah,
it's really well done. Like it's great too, because the whole time it's like, oh, are they gonna do it? Like, are we gonna see it? Because like he so clearly talks about that moment being big point of like trauma for him. So I was like, oh, are we gonna touch on it or what? Like, and they do it well.
Oh, they definitely do it well. Yeah.
I-
So,
Go
do you
ahead.
have a third, Christian, that kind of sticks out to you?
So I think, like, clearly I can't just say the line, right? So I think everything building up to the point where he says the line. So like the Mace Windu fight ending with execute Order 66, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't know if we say that that's an Order 60. Why not, right? Like, I think so.
I mean, I feel like it, like, because he's in his office after he sends Anakin out, you know, and then he calls the clones, and then we get the cut on Kashyyyk, I believe, of the call being received. Right?
Actually, yes, this is true. This is true.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I guess we could sort of just like put that as well as like the scene where Anakin like storms up the steps with the 501st and like
Mhm.
you know, like the message is sort of like pushed across the galaxy and everything. That's like its own scene in and of itself. It has no real deaths, but like that scene is a lot to go through watching it.
Yeah, because let me tell you, Mike, every single time in any capacity that I see the number 66, I will out loud say it as Palpatine. Like the entire line. So I feel like that's iconic. Like I feel like that deserves to be represented on this list, you know?
Sure, I agree with you totally.
So the way I wrote it was in quotes, execute Order 66, and then like the preceding and proceeding 30 seconds with that line. Sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
It's all over the place, but I know what you're talking about. Like,
Mhm.
I think you're right. It needs a place on the list for sure.
Mhm.
Now, for me, I think it comes down to two, 4, and 5s for me. I just can't tell which one is more interesting than the other. I mean, for me, Christian, you really like recontextualized Zet Jukasa's scene.
Hey, sure. I think it's good.
I mean, like, I don't know if you want to put it as a number 4, but like the way that you brought that up with like Bail Organa and everything, I didn't really ever consider that, and I think it has the most depth out of the remaining ones. I think.
Mike, I would put that at 3 if the line just wasn't so iconic.
Fair enough.
So,
I think it's a good number 4.
I agree. Zet Jukasa is number 4. So what was your other one you were thinking of? Because that could just slot nicely into 5.
So I think you're going to disagree with me on this though,
Okay.
Christian. I know you really like Plo Koon, but I really there's something so endearing about Kiadi Mundi saying "Come on" before he dies.
Yeah.
That I think it has to be my number 5. For me personally, if you want to disagree with me, that's fine. But that is my number 5.
So I'll go with you on one condition, because I believe if this isn't true, then it hurts your argument. But is he not the first death we cut to? For Order 66? Like, let me pull up the scene, because if he's the first, because that sticks out to me. So if he is the first casualty of Order 66 as shown in the film, then I think yes, similar to the line, it's just so iconic, you know?
Totally. I just throughout everything, him saying like "come on" has stuck out with me ever since I was a kid. I just thought it was like so sad that like he didn't see it coming. Like I said before, it's endearing in a very special way to me. And also I like Kiadi Mundi. I think he's badass. Though Plo Koon's way cooler.
Yeah, I think it's good. I have the scene pulled up right now. I'm scrubbing through it.
Okay.
But I'll ask
if that is true though, if it is the first one, I think that only makes my argument better.
Yeah, so it looks like okay, so this looks like a deleted scene, but okay, yeah, so we got Palpatine in his office. Obi-Wan gets shot down off the cliff under command of Cody. And then we cut to Majito, and there's Kiadi Mundi. So there you go.
Okay. Number 5.
He's the first death.
Number 5.
All right. So,
No, what were you gonna say?
I wanted to ask you this too. Is there any, like, I guess execute Order 66 at number 3 would involve Anakin at the temple. You're right, because that like leads into it, and then it cuts to the office where he says it. But I'm kind of surprised that, like, talking through this, that there's really no big Anakin like moment, I guess, in Order 66. I know there's the youngling thing, which has just been a meme, but like,
there is, and this is coming back to me now. He's dispatched to Mustafar by Emperor Palpatine.
Sure.
And he kills the Trade Federation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, and there is that scene where he has like the one tear coming down his eye, right?
Right. So
before he kills Wat Tambor. So.
Mm-hmm. So Order 66 lasts pretty long, I guess, then, because I always thought it was just like, because I guess if you contextualize it that way, Order 66 was probably like a week's effort, and we just saw like the first hour of it, right?
Probably. I mean, I think it was more than a week. Like, think about it. Like, there's a reason why there are so many Inquisitors, because you gotta the Order 66 didn't get all.
Exactly. Yes, that's why because I've always thought about it of like, okay, Order 66 and break. Okay, team, how'd we do? Like, that's the way I've always thought of it. But you make way more sense.
Yeah. No, I think maybe if we change number 3 to like execute Order 66 and like literally anything Anakin does.
Yeah.
Because Anakin's like obviously one of the more focal points of that whole sequence. Mm-hmm. So. And it's coming back to me like right before he kills Wat Tambor, the one like little tear coming through his eye. I love it.
Yeah. So to reiterate our top 5 from number 5 to number 1 for the best Order 66 representations, we have Ki-Adi-Mundi dying in Revenge of the Sith, Zet Jukasa defending Bail Organa in Revenge of the Sith at number 4. Number 3 is execute Order 66, and then anything Anakin does in the following minute. Number 2, we have Jar Tapal and Cal Kestis. Of course, trust only in the Force, passes on the lightsaber, very cool. Mm. And number 1, Ahsoka Tano and Rex escaping the Venator above wherever it was, like post Siege of Mandalore. So,
I think that's a great top 5. I think we could both say that we didn't expect Zet Jukasa's name to show up on this list.
I really didn't. But honestly, shout out. I know Plo Koon was like the other one that was vying for number 5. Shout out to that Aayla Secura thing.
Yeah, what? Shout out to all of it, man. Yeah. But yeah, the Aayla Secura thing is cool.
Yeah. So, that being said, do we want to transition to ranking the Jedi who died?
Yeah, why don't we do it? This is definitely a different list, I think. Though, like, I feel like the Order 66 ranking the Order 66 scene also sort of like it's like the Jedi as well. Mm-hmm. But like, anyways, so 1 through 5 on the Jedi Casualties list. What do you think? What do you think comes as number 1?
Obvious Plo Koon.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad we agree on that. Like, he's just so cool, dude. Like, I just want, like, his Starfighter. I want his Lego set. I want his Black Series. He's a cool guy. And Clone Wars made me really love him. He's so cool. And seeing the potential that he lived up to in Clone Wars made me upset that Lucas didn't pursue that more in the movies. And, like, especially in Clone Wars, he's so nostalgic for me with Clone Wars because when it premiered on Cartoon Network, like the first episode I think was like the Shadow Malevolence arc when he's like in space with the clones, and like seeing him as the focal point of the first Star Wars TV show thing was so cool.
Yeah. No, that's totally true. I forgot the whole arc that he had where he was like out in space and everything.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, like, because we talked about it on the initial run of the show of like how the Jedi Order kind of views clones the way that we all as an audience view droids, but Plo Koon out the get, he was like, nah, dude, you're a person, you got a soul, you got the Force. It's like, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, man. And Ahsoka Tano talks a lot about Plo Koon, and has a lot of good things to say about him throughout the show as well.
Yeah, he's super cool.
So I have a question: does Anakin Skywalker count as a Jedi casualty?
I think so. I do. I think you have a solid argument there.
Yeah, I mean, like, not Order 66, like, in the traditional sense.
Right.
Like, but, you know, Anakin Skywalker does die at that turning point, right? Like, at least for a bit. Like, not fully, but yeah, like, you know, he turns into Darth Vader. And that's about it for, like, you know, the next 20 years. So
no, you're absolutely right. I think he's, because not number one, because there is that asterisk of he does come back, but I do think it's worth bringing up, because like that is again a central point of why the Order 66 worked, was because Anakin ceased to exist, you know.
Totally, man. I think yeah, I think other than the fact that he does come back, he would be number one, but he deserves a spot on the Jedi casualty list.
For sure. Third place is an interesting one.
It is interesting.
Because part of me wants to say Jar T'Pol. Because I really do think that Order 66 scene in Fallen Order is done very, very well. And a lot of that rests on I can recognize the actor who voiced Jar T'Pol, but I can't think of a name right now. But that performance really does sell it. Like the pain, the like sacrifice of like passing on literally everything to Cal. Like I think it's a very well done scene, and Jar T'Pol has such a looming presence over most of that game. Just in terms of Cal and like his guilt. So I think that's a solid number. If not number 3, then on this list.
I was thinking about number 3, Christian. I have to agree with you.
Okay.
Jar T'Pol is definitely a number 3 Jedi casualty. Really sad. He's like, I wish he was my dad, you know?
Yeah,
just
he's a cool guy. And isn't he like only at least as far as I'm aware of, he's only like the second of Zeb's race, right? His species?
Yeah. The Lasat, I think.
Yeah, he's the second Lasat we've seen, I think. So it's cool. It's a cool species in Star Wars. I want one in the High Republic. Do it.
Yeah, Jar T'Pol though, he does seem like a bit of a hard, like he you know, I was gonna say, but like he definitely puts a lot of rules on Cal.
Yeah,
I can see that being annoying as a Padawan, but
sure.
You know, yeah. So number 4, I guess we're running out of the name recognition. the ones with name recognition. But what do you think is a number 4 Jedi casualty here, Christian?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Does Mace Windu make this list?
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, he dies like during that turning point. So yeah, I'd say that anybody who dies like during Order 66 or like almost immediately preceding it, like
yeah, I just meant like in terms of earning your favor, in terms of like a press F to pay respects. Does he get the F? Does he?
Gets an F.
He does.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like he'd be like a number 5 though, just because I'm not about the way he treated Anakin and Ahsoka. That kind of led to this whole mess.
True. Yeah, it was kind of his fault.
It kind of was.
So sad that he's gone, but maybe for the best. Yeah. So I mean, why don't we just like I think Ayla Secura, with that in mind, that sort of tidbit that you gave me, where you gave the listeners and me, Christian, I think that's really interesting. And if that's true, I think she deserves a list, part on this list.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very interesting. I did actually pull up the Wikipedia article for her clone commander. His nickname was Bly. Let me see if I can pull the article back up just to give CC 5052. Clone Marshal Commander who served both the Galactic Republic and Galactic Empire. Nicknamed Bly. Worked with General Ayla Secura throughout the Clone Wars, serving a bunch of different campaigns. Bly worked with Sakura to personally extract a valuable scientific package from Honegger. Bly encountered renegade Jedi Quinlan Voss. So yeah, this is somewhat canonized with his role in like the Clone Wars and stuff, but their relationship, I think, might have been explored in Legends.
I mean, I think, you know, I think that's just really interesting, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say that it counts.
I agree.
Why not?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So I think that's we have our top 5 now.
Yeah, why don't you read through it?
So starting from number 5 on the Jedi Casualties list, we have Mace Windu. Number 4, Aayla Secura. Number 3, Jaro Tapal. Sad. Number 2, Anakin Skywalker. And number 1, Plo Koon.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
I'm listeners, you'll have no idea what's happening. Mike, big bold F.
Big bold F. Press F to pay respects.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's the Order 66 top 5 scenes and top 5 Jedi Casualties. I think that was fun, Christian.
Yeah, it was. Now, a final question for you: what's your favorite quote out of Order 66? Because for me, it is far and away it's execute on a 66. Like that's too iconic to not be that.
So I mean, other than come on,
yeah,
which is really great.
Mm-hmm.
I love that one. I do like Jaro Tapal when he says trust only in the Force.
That's a really good one too.
I think that's a great one.
I'll say shout out to Kayla, who was on our bonus episode. She thinks it is hilarious when the child says Master Skywalker. There's too many of them.
Yeah, he has a name actually. No.
Yeah. So lots of good stuff to mine from Order 66. And honestly, I was gonna say this earlier, but I'm glad I remembered it. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a new scene added to this, maybe within the next year, with Grogu, seeing how he escaped.
Yeah, or the Bad Batch, right?
Sure, yeah. There could be like what they were doing mid order, you know, see how, because yeah, we discussed that hypothetically of like what were they doing, how'd they react, were they under the chip, did they have to comply, like did they kill a Jedi, like there's a lot we could see with them in that show.
Yeah, I think how they deal with Order 66 is going to be like pretty focal in at least the first season. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first episode, honestly, just knowing where it's picking up in the trailer and stuff.
Yeah, it's not like it would be a surprise or, you know, anything. So,
dude, what if they're the ones that saved Grogu?
I mean, like maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
What if Fennec Shand?
Yeah. What if she did it? Interesting stuff.
But yeah, so I think that sort of wraps up the episode. That we kind of did a long one today, but good because it was episode 66.
Yes.
And yeah, I had a really fun time with Christian, and hopefully we can get to 501.
Yeah, 501. That's the next one. I mean, assuming we love Bad Batch, episode 99, Clone Force 99, gonna be a good one as well.
That's true. Right. So Christian, you're usually better at like taking us out to sea here. So why don't I let you just like hand over the reins of the hosting here and just let you take us out.
So Mike, where can everybody find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors.
Very nice. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, Chun2D2. This show, you can check out the Twitter at Jedi Knights JC. But this show's available in video format on youtube.com/joyclicks. Just reached 2,000.
Nice.
2,000 subs. Here we go. Thanks for following along. Thanks for subbing.
Yeah, thank you.
So video version, all the full playlist is available on the channel. We also have an audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your podcast service of choice. If you can rate a review on that platform, it would be greatly appreciated. I will say this. If you've always been like, I'll do a review, I keep forgetting to do it, this is the episode. Episode 66. You just have to comment. Hive Mind, episode 66. Roger.
Yeah, just say Roger, Roger, execute Order 66, anything.
Good soldiers
you want.
follow orders.
Exactly. Come on!
Yeah. But really, it will help the show out a ton. We appreciate you for doing it. For those that have.
And
also...
for everybody who's watched the past 66 episodes, thank you.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's been awesome.
Totally awesome.
Yeah, I love doing this show every week. We also have Patreon, patreon.com/joyclicks. You can get involved with the $1 or $5 tiers. $5 tier gets you producer credit like Chris Sakas for all of our shows, and a shout out on them all. So thank you very much. But I think that's gonna do it for episode 66. So Mike, bucking the trend, I feel like this week we just have to sign off with an execute Order 66.
Do you want me to say it?
Oh, please do, Mike.
In my best Palpatine voice, right?
Best you can do.
Commander Cody, the time has come. Execute Order 66.
Oh, yes, you're right. Beep is up.